We're streaming live.
Okay, that's a good thing. Hold on here. One click. Yes. Welcome, everybody. This is Lance Luke and Martin Pea. We're going to be talking to you about Hawaii State Hospital repair costs, which is kind of a specific subject, but it actually could apply to anybody, especially if you're spending money renovating or building your own home or a building. So, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're actually broadcasting, restreaming our Zoom platform to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, hopefully, there's a lot more people that are going to be joining us that are not on our Zoom platform. And this webinar is presented by Construction Management Inspection, which is a local Hawaii building inspection and construction management company. And let me go through these slides here. And we're talking about the Hawaii State Hospital in Hawaii. So if you're not in Hawaii but you're interested, please join us. And some of the things that I'm going to be talking about are not very positive, but this is the facts that we like to present. So let's get started. Um, Originally, the Hawaii State Hospital was super old and falling apart. So it got rebuilt. Part of the hospital remained, and another section was rebuilt brand new. And so the question is why the state hospital's condition is of public concern, or maybe you're not aware that it is a concern. So basically, in a nutshell, is a brand new hospital was built, and soon after there were construction defects and major construction defects, not like minor things like you missed a spot on the painting or you got a nick in the drywall, you got a crack in the roof tile. There were some things like that, but as we go through the presentation, I'll explain some of the major things. So basically, there was a new 144 bed Hawaii State Hospital building. It was intended to provide modern, secure psychiatric care and other types of care, but mainly that. And shortly after completion, and now this is a major construction project. It's considered a public works project because it got financed by the state of Hawaii. And where does the state of Hawaii get their money from? Right? Taxpayers, taxpayer dollars. So that's why this is important. It's your taxpayer dollars that we're talking about. Shortly after the project was completed, there were major construction defects that were discovered, resulting in immediate and costly repairs. Because this new facility was funded by taxpayers, the presence of construction defects raises important conditions about project oversight, accountability, and quality of construction um, involving workmanship. And you know, uh, I gave a talk in the past about construction defects and what is considered a construction defect. There's three components, main components that comprise construction defects, and you don't have to have all three to for it to be that condition to be considered a construction defect. So a defect is could be due to poor design, it could be due to poor building material, or it could be due to a workmanship issue, like poor workmanship. So sometimes it's a design issue, Sometimes that condition is caused by a building material that maybe wasn't manufactured correctly and it's defective, or it could be due to um, poor workmanship. Now, the number one issue, right, in a construction defect is, what do you think, right? Poor workmanship. Okay, that's the number one if you go by percentages. So, government verified costs of new building. Let's talk about $160 million to construct. So this hospital wasn't cheap, right? To spend $160 million, that's a lot of money. So $160 million was spent, and shortly thereafter, completion of the project, defects were discovered, right, that required between 37 to 40 million dollars in additional repairs. Now, additional repairs comprise of having to refix something, or having to redo it, or having to rebuild, or repair. So let me put it in this perspective. Let's say that you're live in a single family home and you decide, we need more space, so we're gonna add some additional space. So we're gonna add a bigger family room, or enclose our uh, open patio and make it a covered lanai, and maybe we're gonna put a bathroom in there. Okay, so at $160,000, brand new addition to your house. Imagine the contractor finishes and all of a sudden you find $40,000 worth of bad work, or work that needs to be repaired, right? That's not a good thing. Now, it would be okay if the contractor came back and finished it on his own dime. But in this case, the contractor is basically walking away, and guess who's stuck with the bill? Us taxpayers, right? So um, that's not really fair. Okay, so I was talking to Martin the other day, and I said, this thing is kind of crazy. So um, when I filed my state tax returns, the money that I owed for state taxes, I'm deducting my share of the cost to repair, and then making a note saying I'm deducting this amount because I don't feel I have to pay for the repairs because you guys screwed up and did a bad job. Somebody messed up, and it could be not somebody, it could be a tier of different people in different departments that messed up. But let's talk about things a little further. The Department of Health repair allocations confirm major system failures and unplanned expenditures. Now, what I'm telling you here is documented. It's been, if you contact the State Department of Health or the state government, and they would explain things to you. So this is not like new information or inside information. It's like public record. Some of this stuff actually came out in the news. But what happens with the news is it comes out, and then people talk about it for a week or two, and then it slowly dies down, and then after a while people forget about it, right? So I mean, that's kind of human nature. So but what we're doing is, with this presentation, we're asking you not to forget about it, to think about it, and talk about it, and discuss the issue, and what can we do about it. Construction defects driving up costs. Okay, specific to this Hawaii State Hospital building, water leaks and mold remediation. When you have leaks leaking into drywall, water dripping on the ceiling or leaking into walls, um, mold started to develop. So there were water leaks, there was mold remediation. What's the estimate? Over $8 million. Additional $2 million spent on legal consulting and investigative services. Now, I want to make it clear that I personally was not hired to investigate any of these defects. So I was not on the project. I was not involved in the project as a construction manager or inspector. I was not involved after it to come up with uh, inspection reports to give to legal counsel and attorneys and whatnot. So I'm just an innocent bystander, losing taxpayer. Okay, what's some other defects we're talking about? Corroded piping, poor drainage, improper exterior sealing discovered in the new structure. Design errors and change orders expanded the repair scope and raised total expenses. How defects in a new building affects everybody. Well, first of all, when there's a brand new building, like a hospital, you have workers and you have patients and visitors. And some areas are cordoned off, and it's very disruptive, especially in a hospital. Repairs disrupt operations. So when contractors have to go in and repair something, that area gets cordoned off, and now the hospital staff and other people can't use that area. So inside the new 144 bed high security psychiatric unit, you got workers in there. Other thing is you got mold and water intrusion, created direct safety risks for both patients and staff, which is not good. People need to feel safe in a hospital. The patients need to feel safe. The workers need to feel safe. But then we're talking about a hospital that's not safe because you have mold and water leaking and all that, which is kind of pathetic. Areas of the new building required closures or restricted access, reducing capacity and treatment continuity. Like I mentioned before, that's like not too good. So my perspective on this new building failures, major defects appeared soon after opening. What was these defects due to? Right? Inadequate oversight. What about quality control? Was there true quality control, quality assurance? What happened here? Issues such as corrosion, water intrusion, drainage problems, all preventable with proper inspection procedures. The high repair costs reflect contractor performance gaps and insufficient monitoring during the construction phase. Now, let me step back for a moment and talk about industry standards. So standard practice is an architect and a team of design consultants are hired to design the building. So in this case, we have a hospital, and the design team, architect and various engineers from civil, structural, electrical, mechanical, and so forth, all get together and they complete what's called your building plans and specifications, and that's submitted to both the DPP to obtain a building permit, and it was also submitted to contractors for bidding. Okay, so every contractor bids on the same plans and specs. Okay, fast forward to a contractor selected. I'm not going to go through all this rigmarole about procurement and state regulations and all that. I'm just trying to give you a general idea, um, a quick picture of how the process is. So, fast forward, the state identifies a contractor and they work on negotiating the construction contract. And the contract signed, and the contractor starts mobilization, which is actually getting to the job site and starting preparation for the actual work. Okay, the work starts and it's ongoing. So construction is starting, and what happens, right? The contractor, the general contractor, hires various subcontractors and they continue working at the project site. Now, during that time, it's expected that the project architect and the design consultants inspect the work and basically sign off, because their job by state law is to observe the construction. What are they doing? They're, taking a look see and making sure that everything's following the plans that they drew, right? Now, there's other people involved in the process, such as independent construction manager. There's personnel from the state, from Department of Health, and whatever other agencies are involved, and they're all working together, inspection, and what happens at the end of the first month. Okay, the contractor submits their invoice. It's called a contractor pay request or pay application, right? And everybody got to sign off on it. So every month, this is a procedure: inspection, signing off, inspection, signing off. Now, it may not be that easy. There may be questions that come up by the contractor. And if the contractor has questions posed to the design consultant, it's called an RFI, which means request for information, right? Now, there's probably a lot of that stuff going on as the project continues, and there's different paperwork called submittals, inspection reports, and all that. But you would think that with all the layers of inspections and sign-offs and all that, how could there be millions of dollars of construction defects? So you kind of got to scratch your head and think, well, what happened here? People were sleeping on the job, or not doing their job, or not even bothering to check to see what was going on. And when you go back and look at what happened, it's obvious that people were not doing their job, or were not doing their job correctly, leading to problems. And then to compound the situation, at the end, the contractor's like basically waving their hand and saying, sorry, I'm not coming back to fix anything. You guys are on your own. And then what? The state accepts that? Like, oh, okay. Oh, you're not coming back? Well, I guess that's cool. I guess the state taxpayers will have to pay the $40 million to correct all these problems. Somewhere along the line, the guardrails weren't there. Our fail-safe, where's our protection? Who's managing these projects, right? Everybody's pointing fingers at the person. But how can there be a situation where a contractor is allowed to like leave and say, bye-bye, I don't need to come back. I know there's like stuff I need to correct, but the state let me off the hook. How? I don't understand that. It's ridiculous. And now, if anybody that worked on this project in the state that was connected to the project, any design consultant, any project manager, construction manager, or anybody disagree with what I'm saying here, feel free to chime in or send me an email or whatever you want, because I'm open to discussion, right? And I know some things cannot be said, but I'm just kind of telling people what my opinion is on this thing. It just, if you take a step back and you're not even a construction expert, right? It just doesn't make any sense at all. Now, if you were a construction expert and you look at all these things, it's like, oh my goodness, what happened here? Just unbelievable. Corrective work required in the new facility, 600,000 allocated for chilled water line repairs, and that has to do with air conditioning, HVAC system, mechanical. $360,000 for fire alarm panel corrections. What happened? Why does it need to be corrected? It's new, isn't it? What happened here? Fire alarm, that's life safety. 4.2 million for improvements tied to the new building's bed expansion systems, right? I don't know really exactly what that is. Preventive maintenance is necessary to prevent recurring failures. Now, yeah, of course, you have to, every building, when it's new, there's an instruction manual on what you need to do, or if not, you hire a consultant that lets you know. Like, when the building is brand new and the keys are turned over, let's say Martin is the new owner, he built a brand new house and the contractor's giving him the keys, right? Martin takes the keys, okay, congratulations, here's your new house. And Martin's job is to go, okay, but I have a few questions. How do I maintain the house? Can you let me know, like, what do I need to do? Foundation, do I need to inspect the foundation? If so, when? At what point? My siding, when do I need to paint? Who's going to come in, inspect, and look to see if the paint's lasting or if it's failing too soon, right? So you need kind of a operation manual, sort of like when you buy a new car, you get this, book that they give you, and it's really thick. But the reason why it's thick is because half of it is written in a foreign language, maybe, but at least it's a manual, right? So, like the roof. How long is my roof gonna last? And what do I need to do to maintain it? It's gonna last 50 years. You don't need to do nothing. Maybe check on it every once in a while. So it's good to have a manual, but let's say that there's a problem with drainage, right? Now there's already a problem, so preventive maintenance, every time it rains, you better go out there and you better put a tarp or sandbags and all that. Well, why would a homeowner have to do that, right, if the house is built correctly? So there's additional preventive maintenance necessary to prevent failures or the failure getting worse and then a failure period, right? So that's part of building maintenance, right? You cannot like drive a car and just keep putting gas and keep driving it. Eventually, your tires will get worn. Eventually, your oil will run out and your engine will freeze. Okay, so a home or any kind of building is the same thing. It needs maintenance. Construction defects, financial lessons learned. The new state hospital building required tens of millions in defect-related repairs shortly after completion. These unplanned costs highlight the need for stronger contractor oversight and independent inspections. And there were independent inspections. I don't think they were enough, and they may not have been complete. And you don't let the contractor do their own inspections. That's like the wolf guarding the hen house here, right? The wolf says, oh, don't worry, I'll protect your chickens. And then you go there in the morning and there's no chickens left in the chicken coop because the wolf took it all, right? Ensuring quality construction up front is essential to protect public funds and prevent similar features in future state projects. Now, there's other state projects that didn't go so well, right? For instance, the convention center. that didn't go so good, right? And there's other projects that the state had to go spend more money fixing stuff. So, what's the conclusion from the expert? My conclusion is that what can we do? We need to be more aware, right? Government is a bureaucracy. There's a lot of red tape. If you read the procurement law, it's so ridiculous that there's so much red tape and fine lines here. It's just it got so convoluted, and it's supposed to protect the taxpayers, right? But does it really? In the long run, does it really? How can the procurement law and the construction public works laws protect the taxpayers when we have issues like this? $40 million here, right? Other problems where taxpayers are not protected. So, as much as how many thousands of words are in the procurement law and then the contractors law and all that, it's not helping, right? So we need to be more aware. We need to protect whatever money we have left, basically, right? And who's running the show? And the same, it's not only Department of Health. There's DOE that's in this too, and there's other agencies that I could point fingers at, but I'm not here to slam the state government and all that. I'm here to raise awareness, right? And what can we do to make things better? Okay, what you missed, we've given a lot of webinars in the past. It's on our website. I'll tell you about that. What's coming up, we have a whole list of topics for this year, 2026. And then you visit our website, askbuildingexpert.now.site. And by the way, we're spending thousands of dollars to upgrade our website and changing the domain name. So it's going to be askbuildingexpert.com in the future. The site may be partially up, but I won't go to the .com one yet. So we got expert websites. We have National Building Expert blogs there. All the webinars you can go to. You don't need to pay. You don't need a Netflix or Disney or any kind of account. You just go to our website and watch it anytime you want. And then I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of books available that you can get for free also. Download it. And then you got questions, we got answers. So this is Lance Luke. My number is on the screen and my email address. So if you're not looking at the screen, you can go to our website and contact us. So I want to turn over to Martin, see if there's any questions that came up. But before that, I got to give you a story. So the location of the Hawaii State Hospital is in Kaneohe, and it's right next to Windward Community College. And I won't say how old I am, but I went to Windward Community College after high school in the 70s. Okay, so you can do the math. And I was in this class. Let me think. I think it was history class. Okay, so history 101 or whatever. So I'm and the thing I like about Windward Community College is it was a lot smaller. So I was going to University of Hawaii Manoa, but I decided that Windward Community College is closer to my house and the classes are smaller. I think there was like 15 to 20 people in a class at the community college, versus if I went to University of Hawaii Manoa, there was 50 or 300. Okay, so anyway, history class. So I'm in history class, and there's a guy sitting next to me, and he comes, to class every day, and you know, he's like every other student, listening, and when the class is done, he goes home or he leaves the class. And then it came time at the end of class, and the teacher was passing out the written tests. And everybody got one except that guy. So I raised my hand and I said, "Oh, teacher, he didn't get a test." And the teacher said, "Oh, he's not a student." Like, oh, so what? He's just like auditing and all that. And the teacher said, "Oh no, he actually lives next door at the state hospital. He just came to sit in on the class." And all the other students are going, "Oh, all this time we didn't even know. We thought that guy was a classmate of ours." So that guy was harmless. He would be friendly and all that, and we just didn't know. So I always remember that story. To this day, I still think it's pretty funny. Okay, so Martin, we got any questions?
Yes, we do. I also have a comment on
Oh, sure.
your story there. Yeah, I think the Windward campus is a nicer, better, more country kind campus versus the university. I went to the university too, and university. Well, when I was going there, it was kind of it was a city campus, but it was had some country look. But yeah, the now it's just all buildings, just like downtown, yeah, at the university. So, um, but yeah, the Windward campus is even still nice. And now I just realized, wow, the state hospital has been there a long time.
Long time.
I,
Yeah.
I I didn't realize that until you shared your story, because yeah.
Oh,
So it
it's
needed
been.
repairs. Yeah, it needed all those repairs that they did, but it could have been done better for sure. Yeah.
Well, that hospital's been there a long time because I remember when I was like in the Cub Scouts, like when I
Yeah.
was 10 or 12, we had a field trip during Christmas to go to the state hospital to sing Christmas carols.
Mm. Yeah.
And we didn't, that was the first time, and we didn't know what to expect. And it was kind of scary because imagine that you're like 10, 12-year-old kids and you go to this hospital, and we thought that, okay, there'll be people sick and, recovering or whatever. And we didn't know that it was different type of patients. And some were singing along, and, um, we're singing Jingle Bells, and a patient singing a different song. It's just, and then, which was scary. At the end, we had to go shake hands with all the patients, and there was one person, one of the patients, when one of the other scouts were shaking their hands, and they wouldn't let go of that scout's hand, and so the scout was like, "Let me go," and it kind of caused a little scene. But anyway, let's get to the questions.
Yes, yes. Let's do that. Okay, first one we have here is oh, it's addressed to you, Lance. It says, Lance, based on your experience inspecting public facilities, what kind of oversight system would you recommend to ensure projects like this Hawaii State Hospital stay on budget and on schedule?
Okay, so what kind of procedures would I recommend for a construction project like this? Now, um, staying on budget and on schedule, throw those out because that doesn't really happen. Um, scheduling's out of whack, the budget's out of whack. But as far as the procedures and all that, the procedures are basically already set. It is just a matter of following it and doing a good job, because there's a manager hired. There's other managers that are in charge of a construction project. Their job is to inspect and raise questions and sign off, or not sign off on the contractor's pay. Did the contractor do 50% of the roof. Well, if not, why are they billing for 80% of the, right? Or, oh, I don't think they followed the plans. So raise those questions up, and raise those questions soon, and raise it as soon as the problem exists. Don't wait until the end of the project to say, oh, by the way, I noticed when you guys were first doing the painting that you guys didn't clean the building first before you painted. Well, the building's already painted, so the time to bring up issues is then and there, not like months or years later. So um, I'm not sure of a drastic change. I'm just thinking that things should be followed more closely and um, documented. I think there's enough coverage of managers involved and the procedures there. I just think that they should do a better job following it. That's all. I think you're on mute. I don't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, I forgot I had the mute. Was
Oh, okay.
phone call coming in here. Yeah. It's good that they kind of follow through with the process. I think a lot of it is just not doing what needs to be done. Yeah, the enforcement of the processes, whatever they are. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Next question we get here is, in your opinion, how can Hawaii improve contractor selection and performance monitoring to avoid recurring repair problems in state-funded projects?
Well, there's already as far as contractor selection, there's already a protocol. The contractor has to submit documentation to prove that they're experienced and they have the wherewithal and they have the manpower and they've been around for so many years and have done similar projects of similar nature to the project that they're bidding on, and they have all their subcontractors lined up and everyone's properly licensed and they have proper insurance. Insurance would be general liability and workman's comp, and then their ability to be bonded, because these jobs, the bonding capacity makes a difference. So there's all these things that are already set as far as the protocol. So I don't think the contractor selection is the problem, unless there's hanky-panky going on, um, behind the scenes, or more politics are involved. But the procedure is basically there, and the contractor selected. I think it's more of just monitoring the contractor better, better oversight with the contractor, maybe better oversight between the contractor and their subcontractors, right? And better monitoring of the design consultant. Somebody has to be the manager saying, "Hey, architect or engineer, I think you need to come and spend more time looking at things and signing off rather than not showing up or not being involved." I'm pretty sure a project of this nature, they have meetings every week, um, discussions and all that. So there's a lot of moving parts in a construction project. And when you have, the more moving parts you have, the more chances of failure or some kind of problem, right? So it's not easy. Any construction project is not an easy project. There's too many things going on, and too many chances of failure. Um, and this is a good example of what happens. So, um, yeah, I don't think contractor selection is the main issue. I think it's contractor performance and oversight is the issue.
Okay.
But yeah, but good. Thank you
That's a,
for
that's a,
the
yeah, that's a
questions.
good question, Lance. And then I was just, you mentioned about the oversight and, the meetings and all that. Do they, as part of the process, is it generally that there is an actual sign off on something that like you say, the designers have looked at it or they are doing it? Some way to I guess, document to verify that the process is being executed properly? Like in the
Yeah,
case of
yeah,
meeting sign-offs or whatever they got to sign off on?
yeah. That's right. So, if they use the AIA, which is American Institute of Architects, um, contractor pay application form, right, or something similar, there's a specific signature line for the architect to sign. So, like, let's say the contractor finishes at the end of April, and they finish whatever portion of the building, okay, and every line item there's a percentage. So there's foundation, electrical, plumbing, roof, okay, and of course there's other stuff, drywall and plumbing fixtures and different things that go into a project. But for discussion's sake, every line item has a percentage of completion. So the architect has to look at that and say, okay, the flooring, they're billing 20%, 20% is completed, and go down the list. So, and that's every month that's being done. The architect, I mean, has to sign off on the form, and a lot of times it's notarized. So there's all these guardrails into getting the project done correctly. But if the architect doesn't do that, or if he doesn't come around, or he just walks around the property for 10 minutes and signs the form, that's not going to do it, right? A project of this size would take at least an hour or two to walk around and look. And this is during different stages of construction we're talking about. Also, the project architect has to, in turn, bring in the design consultants, all the engineers of record, structural engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical, uh, maybe there's a landscaper, maybe there's a special engineer hired for building envelope, water infiltration protection, things like that. That architect should bring those guys in too, and then do a proper inspection. And it costs money, right? But that should already be built into their contract. So the more inspections you have, the better, right? But the inspections can't be um, an incomplete one. It has to be thorough. And then also the construction manager has to be inspecting also, or has to demand, where's my reports. So I'll give an example. On a federal job that I was on, I was the federal HUD inspector, and I used to have meetings every month with the general contractor and um, the project architect. And in some cases, when we walked around, I asked the architect, well, where's the engineer, right? Oh, they only required to come when we called them, or they come like once every 4 months. And I said, no, they got to come every month. And what happened is, I didn't know that all these engineers told me their contract with the architect called for no monthly inspections. They come either on call or every 4 months or so. And I said, unacceptable, right? Something could be, the walls could be put up within the 4 month period, and how's the guy know how he's going to inspect the electrical and plumbing? It's hidden in the wall now. So it became an issue where they went back to the developer and they said, the federal inspector is requiring us to come every month to the meeting. and do inspections. That wasn't in our contract. So therefore, if you want us to do that, well, first they said we're not going to do it, and then they said if you want us to do it, and if you're requiring us, you're going to have to pay, $500 per inspection or whatever. And then it got back to me. They said, "Oh, um, we're going to have to charge." And I'm like, if it wasn't in your contract, well, that's not my problem. I didn't negotiate the contract, right? But my problem is this: I'm not going to sign off until I get the inspections. So you guys, it's up to your job to go get the developer to approve the extra costs. But I had the power to do that because I was a federal inspector. If I didn't sign off, guess what? Nobody would get paid. And every month, I look at the total dollar amount that the contractor is billing for, and it's like $1 million. So can you imagine? You have this one guy named Lance Luke saying he's not going to sign the $1 million contractor application because he doesn't have the inspections from the various engineers. So you got like 100 people not happy with this one inspector. And I'm like, hey, I didn't make the rules up. That's my job, is to inspect and sign off. How can I sign off approving this when I don't have my backup? I'm not gonna stick out my neck and be the structure engineer or the mechanical engineer or whatever. I mean, I have experience, but I'm not the one that drew the plans and stamped it and made the attestment to the state government saying, I'm the mechanical engineer, I'm going to observe construction. So it gets kind of technical, and I wouldn't say, we have arguments in the field about that. But once I got that resolved, then it got settled, and then I was happy. And they're going, oh, we got to keep the inspector happy, otherwise he's going to make trouble for us, right? So they in a big construction project, the inspector is feared. The DPP inspector is also feared. People don't want to talk to the building code inspector because he can make your life miserable, right? So anyway, that's
So
that's the story.
that sounds reasonable, but it really means that, well, from a layperson like me, it seems like you need to have proper inspections, which is, whatever, they got to see the wiring or do the inspection versus just assume it's in there and it's all okay. So, I mean, to me, the real problem then is making sure that all inspections are properly done, yeah, to make sure that whatever the things that's got to be checked is checked. Like you said, in the 4 months, you can't do an electrical inspection because it's all covered up already. So that means, yeah, it's an improper inspection to me.
Yeah. So
As a
I mean,
layperson.
common sense would dictate that you need monthly inspections,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we know the inspector's not going to catch everything when he's there. But if he comes once a month, he's not going to see a lot of stuff,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, and to me, inspections is something you see, right? Right. It's not something somebody tells you, and then that's what it is, because
Yeah. Well,
that's
I've
not
had situations where they say, we'll send you pictures, of stuff, and the contractor's saying, well, we'll send you pictures. What kind of pictures do you need?
so.
And I'm like, that
Is that adequate?
no, it's not.
Oh,
I mean, it's only adequate to if they're billing for 50% of the roof put on, and the picture shows 50% of the roof put
oh,
on.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that's adequate, but that's only based on the 50% rule. It's not based on, well, is the construction okay? The 50% of roof construction, did he do it correctly? Did he follow the plans and specs? Did he put the right ties in,
Yeah,
right? So it gets kind of technical, but it you know to bring it down to a layperson and a taxpayer's
right.
format, you don't have to be you don't have to have the technical knowledge to inspect a roof, right? But we expect, if we're paying for it, we expect that people that are experienced are hired to inspect the roof. Who designed the roof? The architect? Well, we expect the architect to go and inspect it. We expect the structural engineer to go and inspect it. Make sure it's structurally sound, right? Um, and so you have deep coverage. So you should have multiple inspections. The architect inspects, the structural engineer inspects, the contractor inspects, the roofer subcontractor inspects. That's already 4 inspections. You have your construction manager. That guy should be inspecting too. Now you have 5 inspections. So for every given project, there got to be at least 5 or 6 separate independent inspections. Not like, well, the painter that painted, he did his own inspection, so the general contractor is saying, well, the painter inspected, so he doesn't have to inspect. And then the general contractor tells me, oh, because the painter inspected the work, I don't have to inspect it. So I said, no, that's not true. The general contractor has to inspect the painter's work in addition to the painter inspecting their own work. Then when you call me because you want to get paid, I'm doing my own inspection. And you can send me pictures, but that's not good enough. I actually, touchy feel. I have to go and look and see for myself what's going on. Because, the pictures are good, but it's not a replacement of an actual person going to do the inspection and asking questions. And you can probably train in the future, there'll be like a AI robot that's probably trained to go do inspection. But I don't even think the robot is going to be good enough, because at this point, somebody who has 40 years of experience inspecting paint, I don't know. I mean, I guess if they use AI and you train the robot, maybe the robot could be more efficient, but I've yet to see that. I think it's coming in the future, but who's going to operate the robot? You still need a human, right? So we're not out of a job yet, so don't
Not
worry.
yet, but you're right. I mean, robotics will only be as good as it's trained, and if you get your AI robot, which I know is coming, to actually, with all the knowledge and the skills and the whatever that you have, you'll have a better chance that it's going to do a better job than others. Yeah. But I guess
Well,
my last
yeah.
comment on that before we get to the last question, um, and it kind of slipped my mind now, was this whole point of, expectation. Because I guess part of a proper inspection too is making sure that each inspector's what they expect, which is like you're saying, your skill, your awareness, and your knowledge of whatever the situation is. Like in the case of the paint, everybody's going to have different expectations of what it should be, and hopefully that's some minimum standard or whatever of what you should be provided in the inspection. So I agree and understand what you're saying with the multiple inspections, because each one has their own, I guess, SOP or standing operating procedure on how they do it, but it may not be to the quality and the expectation of whatever your ultimate owner, buyer, or of the work is expecting. So that's a good point. I mean, inspections are only as good as the inspector, no matter what the thing is. So, and depending on their quality of work and all that, it can vary a lot. Yeah. So,
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I'd like to chime in on the expectation. Okay, so from a layperson standpoint, with respect to the state hospital when it's brand new and it's completed, the building's completed, what is the expectation? My expectation as a layperson taxpayer would be we have a nice new state hospital, well built,
agreed.
and we got our money's worth. That's my expectation. I don't expect to be hearing the news that there's millions of dollars of construction defects, that the contractor basically walked away and now the taxpayers have to pay the bill for the repair costs. I don't expect all that, right? And I don't think any taxpayer should. On the other side of the coin, I take my layperson's hat on and I put my construction engineer hard hat on. Hey, I expect a lot more, right? What happened here? and I would have definitely a lot more questions than a layperson about what the procedures were they followed. Now, guarantee, right? Something was wrong. Something wasn't followed, or there are a multitude of things that were not followed to end up like the way how we ended up here, right? So
Right.
it's not right. So the expectation is we expect like a new building that's going to perform. And likewise, the patients deserve that. The nurses and doctors and helpers that work at the hospital, they expect a safe building. They don't expect to go in and all of a sudden there's mold or roof leaking or AC doesn't work or something's wrong with the fire alarm system. It's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
But let's catch the last question so we
Yes.
don't go over time.
Yes, Lance, I totally agree with what you say, and hopefully the state can implement something to up the quality of their inspecting. Okay, the last question I think I got here is what lessons from the Hawaii State Hospital repairs can be applied to other public buildings like schools or housing facilities, or to prevent the same issues, maybe even the new Aloha Stadium.
Okay, so what lessons can we learn or what can be prevented? Well, you brought up the Aloha Stadium. That's kind of a little different situation because um, in the state hospital, it's a brand new building that has defects. In the Aloha Stadium, it's a brand old building that they're tearing down. So, but they're going to build a new stadium there. Um, so we'll see. But other similar situations with the state, like the DOE, and we gave a webinar in the past about DOE and their air conditioning fiasco. That's another example, right? Taxpayer money wasted because people weren't doing their job, or they got taken advantage of by the contractor. The contractor says, "Oh, we'll put solar AC in and it'll work properly." Well, it didn't work that way, right? And then, speaking of the little stadium, I don't know if you remember the story about the steel was rusting, and then some engineer or somebody said, "Oh, it's supposed to rust because when it rusts, that layer of rust forms a protective coating over the rest of the steel, and now you're protected." And when I heard that, I'm thinking, wow, what is this? A space age material? If that's the case, we could build a rocket and go to Mars with that kind of steel they're using, right? Unfortunately, that wasn't true, right? It just kept rusting and rusting. There was no rust protecting further steel. Kind of fairy tale. And it was a big fiasco. When I heard about that, I'm thinking, I tend to believe what people say, right? And until proven otherwise. And then um, several years ago, I actually went to the stadium and I looked to see how bad it was, and it was pretty bad. It was so bad that it was not safe to me, and that's why when the reporter interviewed me about it, I said, "No, I wouldn't go there. I like to go to rock concerts, but I wouldn't go to the Low Stadium. It's too scary, knowing what I know, right?" And then the some state politician senator said, "Oh, that Luke guy is wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And yet I'm sitting in my office with a study by a major engineering firm in Honolulu that says the stadium is not perfectly fine and there's issues and you need to spend millions of dollars in repair. Come to find out, if you add the millions of dollars repair, you might as well build a new stadium, right? So anyway, we'll see what develops. I mean, they're over budget already on the stadium, which is, you know, I'm not surprised. That happens to every large project. But I think we're out of time, so thank everybody for tuning in and listening to this subject here. At times, I felt like I was on a Howard Stern radio show or something, complaining about stuff. But you know, I just sometimes I need to complain so people become more aware of stuff or what the subject matter of what I'm complaining. I'm just not complaining because I'm a complainer. I don't like to complain, but hey, when I, you know, losing money because I gotta pay for these repairs, and it's like this should not happen. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Check out our next webinar. We're talking about hazardous building materials. I think that's important. So on behalf of Martin Pea and myself, Lance Luke, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Aloha, mahalo.